In tonight with the extreme ratcheting up of the rhetoric against President Obama's first Supreme Court nominee. Over the course of the past week, the substantive case that conservatives have made against Judge Sonia Sotomayor has, for the most part, fallen apart. You want to attack her for saying that judges sometimes make law? Well, you'll have to attack Justice Scalia for saying the same thing. You want to attack the man who nominated her for praising her empathy? Well, you'll have to go back and attack George H.W. Bush for praising the same quality in Clarence Thomas. You want to attack her for bringing her ethnic background to bear on her decision-making? Well, you'll have to attack Justice Samuel Alito for doing that as well. You want to attack her for bringing her gender to bear on her decisions? Greg Sargent today at the Plumline blog uncovered a 1981 interview with conservative former Justice Sandra Day O'Connor in which she confessed to that grave sin as well. The conservative arguments against Sotomayor that have been tried out this week have largely fallen apart. Despite that, or maybe because of that, conservative commentators have decided to take their opposition to Judge Sotomayor to another level. They're now all but calling for a race war over this nomination. Today, conservative talk radio host Rush Limbaugh had this to say about why Judge Sotomayor got the job.
How do you get promoted in a Barack Obama administration? By hating white people. Or even saying you do. Or that they're not good. Or that put them down, whatever. Make white people the new oppressed minority. And they're going right along with it because they're shutting up. They're moving to the back of the bus. They're saying, I can't use that drinking fountain? Okay. I can't use that restroom? Okay.
Stoke racial resentment much? Mr. Limbaugh didn't stop there. He went on to compare Judge Sotomayor to former Ku Klux Klan leader David Duke.
She brings a form of bigotry or racism to the court. I don't care. We're not supposed to say it. We're supposed to pretend it didn't happen. We're supposed to look at other things, but it's the elephant in the room. How can a president nominate such a candidate? And how can a party get behind such a candidate? That's what would be asked if somebody were foolish enough to nominate David Duke.
We highlight these comments today not to make Mr. Limbaugh and his radio show the issue. We're highlighting these comments because they are representative of how the conservative movement is talking about this nomination now. It's not just Rush Limbaugh. Here's radio host and conservative hero and Watergate felon, G. Gordon Liddy.
I understand that they found out today that Ms. Sotomayor is a member of La Raza, which means in illegal alien, the race. And that should not surprise anyone because she's already on record with a number of racist comments. But let's hope that the key conferences aren't when she's menstruating or something, or just before she's going to menstruate. That would really be bad.
The language is actually called Spanish. It's not called illegal alien. But points to you, sir, for actually making a David Duke reference seem appropriate. You know, they said it couldn't be done. At the beginning of the week, you would have been forgiven for thinking that a few unhinged, over-the-top comments from talk radio land defined the fringe of the objections to Sotomayor. It turns out it's really not the fringe.
Republican Newt Gingrich, the former House Speaker, entered the fray too. In a widely circulated entry on his Twitter website, he said, quote, "White man racist nominee would be forced to withdraw. Latina woman racist should also withdraw."
It's just like, hey, Hispanic chick lady, you're empathetic? She says, yep. They say you're in. That's the way it really works.
She is also an affirmative action pick, Chris. Clearly, the president was down to 4 choices, all 4 of them women, and he picked a Hispanic.
I'm telling you, she appears to be a racist. She said things that are racist in any other context.
This is the conservative case against Judge Sonia Sotomayor. And now, apparently recognizing belatedly that maybe this is a little over the top for the 2000s, or even the 1990s, or possibly even the 1890s, some Republicans and conservatives are attempting to put a lid on this pot that's already boiled over. Karl Rove, for example, earlier this week launched this attack on Judge Sotomayor.
I'm not really certain how intellectually strong she will be. She has not been very strong on the Second Circuit. She's not liked by her colleagues. She's not particularly respected by her colleagues.
That was earlier this week. Now, Mr. Rove says it's time to treat Judge Sotomayor with some respect.
I think Republicans need to take her on in the appropriate fashion, which is about her judicial philosophy, her record on the court, her writings, and her statements, particularly her statements. But they need to do so with respect.
Is this a bad time to bring up that Mr. Rove also called the judge a school marm earlier in the week and said that she would discard the rule of law whenever emotion moved her to do so, and said about her that he knows a lot of stupid people who've gone to Ivy League schools? There's also RNC Chairman Michael Steele. 2 weeks ago, even before Judge Sotomayor was nominated, Mr. Steele had this to say about the judge.
She's not a bell ringer. She's not one of these justices who's really kind of distinguished herself and made a name for herself in the appeals court. The word on the street is that she's rather abrasive, and that's the one thing the Supreme Court is not. It's a place for abrasive personalities.
The Supreme Court definitely not a place for abrasive personalities. That's actually why they make Justice Scalia telecommute from home now. But those were comments from Mr. Steele 2 weeks ago. Now?
I know that a lot of folks want to do the knee-jerk, let's start slamming and ramming, but I think we really need to take a step back from this.
Now it's time to take a step back from this, after you've called her abrasive and undistinguished? Republicans on the Senate Judiciary Committee are trying to get this boiling water back into the pot as well. Senator John Cornyn of Texas singled out Rush Limbaugh and Newt Gingrich last night during a radio interview.
Neither one of these men are elected Republican officials. I just don't think it's appropriate. I certainly don't endorse it. I think it's wrong. I think it's terrible. This is not the kind of tone that any of us want to set when it comes to performing our constitutional responsibilities of advice and consent.
He says, I think it's wrong. I think it's terrible. I'm very glad to hear that, Senator Cornyn. What do you think about Glenn Beck calling her Hispanic chick lady? What do you think about G. Gordon Liddy was calling the Spanish language the language of illegal alien wrong? Was it terrible what he said about women judges? What do you think about Karl Rove calling her stupid? What do you think about Michael Steele saying she's undistinguished? This is not some isolated problem with minor fringe figures in conservative circles. This isn't a pet project of Michael Savage on some college radio station somewhere. This is the character of the opposition to Sonia Sotomayor's nomination for the Supreme Court. Elected Republicans are now belatedly starting to minorly freak out about it, but honestly, is that all they have to say about it? Is this all they're going to do?